amazing when I'm on board. Okay, welcome everybody. I'd like to call to order the January 17th, 2024 Lower Saucon Township Council meeting to order. May we have a roll call, please?
Ms. DeLeon,
Here.
Mr. Benonis, Mr. Caroci. Here. Ms. Apadera,
Here.
Ms. Red.
Here.
Okay, can we all stand and pledge allegiance?
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, council did not need an executive session. We have no potential action on any executive session items. Next, we have the public comment procedure. As you know, we initiated a new public comment procedure on January 2nd, and that would be online for you to review. I just want to call to your attention that you are allowed now to speak under each agenda item after we all get a chance to discuss the item. And we also have an opportunity at the end on non-agenda items, and you're allowed to speak for 5 minutes. I'd ask that you state your name for the record and address the chair. Do not speak to the audience, only address the chair, and try to keep your comments succinct and without repeating, and try to keep your comments so you're not offending anybody. So that's all I ask. So with that, we're going to move on to the next part of the meeting, which is the swearing in of 2 Lower Saucon Township officers.
Would you allow the record to reflect that I'm present?
Oh, I didn't see you come in. Yes, we have the record reflect that Mr. Benonis is now present at 6:32. Okay, so again, the swearing in of our 2 Lower Saucon officers. Council would like to welcome, and I guess I'll let you talk.
Thank you. I'd like to swear in 2 new full-time officers, the first one being Stephen Morris Jr. If you could please come up here, along with whoever you would like to pin your badge. I'll introduce Stephen for you. Stephen is a 2014 graduate of Shawnee High School in Medford, New Jersey. Served from 2014 to 2018 in the United States Marine Corps. A 2021 graduate of the Coastal Carolina University with a Bachelor of Arts in History, and is a 2022 graduate from the Delaware County Police Academy. And Stephen previously worked part-time with the Darby Township Police Department, which is just outside of Philadelphia in Delaware County, from January 2023 until last week, and he currently resides in Philadelphia. Judge?
Please raise your right hand for me and repeat after me. I, Stephen Boros Jr.,
I, Stephen Boros Jr.,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, defend,
that I will support, obey, defend,
and enforce the Constitution of the United States,
and enforce the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
the laws of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
the laws of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
and the ordinances of Lower Saucon Township,
and the ordinances of Lower Saucon Township,
without consideration to race,
without consideration to race,
color,
color,
sex,
sex,
religious creed,
religious creed,
sexual orientation,
sexual orientation,
age,
national origin,
ancestry,
handicap or disability,
and that I shall at no time
and that I shall at no time
divulge confidential reports
divulge confidential reports
of the department,
of the department,
nor circulate scandalous information,
nor circulate scandalous information,
and I will discharge the duties of police officer with fidelity.
and I will discharge the duties of a police officer with fidelity.
The next officer that would like to be sworn in is Richard Cheque. Richard, yourself and whoever would like to pin your badge. Richard is a 2017 from Conwell-Egan Catholic High School in Fairless Hills, a 2022 graduate of Temple University with a Bachelor of Arts in Criminal Justice and a minor in Public Policy, and is a 2022 graduate from the Temple University Police Academy. That's not a typo, he only had 3 days off between college and the police academy. Richard previously worked part-time with the Yardley Township Police Department in Bucks County from April of 2023 until last week. His previous chief is also in attendance tonight as well. Judge?
And if you'll please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Richard Cheque,
I, Richard Cheque,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, defend,
that I will support, obey, defend,
and enforce the Constitution of the United States,
and enforce the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
the laws of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
the laws of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
and the ordinances of Lower Saukon Township,
and the ordinances of Lower Saukon Township,
without consideration to race,
without consideration to race,
color,
color,
sex,
sex,
religious creed, sexual orientation, age, national origin,
ancestry,
handicap or disability,
and
that I shall in no time
and I shall at no time
divulge confidential reports of the department
divulge confidential reports of the department
or circulate scandalous information,
or circulate scandalous information,
and that I will discharge the duties
and I will discharge the duties
of police officer with fidelity.
of a police officer with fidelity.
Okay, welcome, officers Cheque and Burrows. Welcome to our department.
In lieu of Priscilla's comments, I would also like to ask you to join me in welcome Officers Stephen Boros and Richard Cheque as they start their new venture as full-time officers of the Lower Saukon Township Police Department team. As you can see, there's fellow officers here in attendance. We're all excited to have them on board. And I'd also like to wish them the best of luck on a long, safe career serving the residents of Lower Saukon Township. I would also like to thank council for your continued overwhelming support of the police department. I can assure you that the officers present and those who are unable to attend tonight's meeting greatly appreciate it as well. Thank you.
Okay.
Can I be recognized, Priscilla?
I'm sorry?
Can I be recognized? Sure. Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to the chief for bringing the two new policemen here tonight. I hope that you find Lower Saukon welcoming and wonderful place to work. I can say that my interaction with the staff here has been wonderful, and I hope that you find
Okay, ditto. Okay, next we have recognition of a police officer's retirement. We want to recognize Willie Shelley on his retirement from the police department. And I guess I'd like to thank him for all his service to Lower Saucon. He's been a long-time resident. Did you want to say something, Mark? Okay.
Willie, your wife, your daughter? This is not gonna be easy. I'd like to present this plaque to Officer Shelley. It says, Police Officer Willie Shelley, batch 1615. Thank you for your hard work, loyalty, and dedication to the residents of Lower Saucon Township and the Lower Saucon Police Department. Part-time police officer, December 4th, 2003 to March 27th, 2007. Full-time officer, March 28th, 2007 to December 31st, 2023. Thank you. Willie's been here a long time. Prior to the police department, he was also with the public works for a long time. Real quick, I can always remember when he was a mechanic in the public works department, and we took cars to a mechanic shop in Hellertown, and he was riding with me, and we got a burglary alarm, and he was in the car with me. We pulled into the driveway, and I walked around the back of the house, and there were contractors next door, and said, there were two guys in black just ran from the back of the house. Initially, I thought they were joking. Then I saw the patio door was actually open, and I'm going back many years ago. I got the car, and I don't think Willie knew what was going on, and it sure wasn't mechanic work, because we took off. We ended up capturing the guys after a foot chase and assistance from many other departments, and Willie actually drove the police car to pick me up. So that's one thing I always remember, and I will never forget.
I was calling the guy's location
Yeah.
off the radio.
So, thank you, Willie, for everything.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay, and thank you, everybody. This is always a fun part of the agenda when we have things like this. So, okay, public hearing is next for conditional use application of the Allentown SMSA Limited Partnership doing business as Verizon Wireless, 4235 Lewis Avenue. The council will hold a hearing on the conditional use. And I'm going to turn the meeting over to our solicitor, Mr. Freed.
Thank you, Madam President. So, this is a,
Oh, yeah, we'll just wait a couple seconds so the room clears.
so thank you. This is a conditional use hearing, application by Allentown SMSA Limited Partnership, DBA Verizon Wireless, The applicant is proposing to construct a wireless communications facility on property owned by Rocco Vecito at 4235 Lewis Avenue, which is in the Rural Agricultural Zoning District. The applicant is requesting conditional use approval as per ordinance sections 18020D3 and 180.127.182A1C. The proceedings for this evening, I expect that we are not going to finish the entire proceeding tonight. The board, the council is allotting about an hour and a half for tonight's proceedings. And then we will discuss, we can discuss it at the end of the hearing proceedings, what additional date, what the next date will be for the continued hearing.
When the council decided on an hour and a half,
I don't recall any vote
I'm
on that.
asking you.
You're asking me?
Yeah.
That
Okay.
was,
When did they decide on an hour and a
I
half?
don't know when they decided, that was what was
You're
communicated.
the solicitor, when was it decided?
I made that, Mark and I talked about that, so at this time, I'd like to make a motion to,
The solicitor wasn't aware of it?
Solicitor is aware, the solicitor said.
You weren't aware of it before the meeting? When did you become aware of it?
Why wasn't the rest of council advised of this time limit for this hearing tonight? I mean, that's a fair question.
You're asking me?
I'm asking you, I'm asking the president, I'm asking the manager. I'm a member of council, there's been a decision to limit the time to an hour and a half, and yet that was not communicated to the majority of council, so why is that?
I don't ever recall you referring to me and asking me any questions when you were president.
I didn't put a time limit on our meeting where there are representatives that are here from a company who are taking time to travel to this community.
And
You're
present
holding them
something to
up.
us.
We
I'm not
never
holding
had,
them up, sir, don't speak out against me.
we never had a limit on time for a hearing. Ever. So again, who made that decision, and then when was it notified to the solicitor, and why wasn't it in the agenda? Those are legitimate questions,
Okay, they are questions, so.
are legitimate questions.
Well, I guess our right to know request will look into those things among others,
I don't know why they can't be answered now.
because they don't want to, Tom.
Transparency.
There's no transparency, even though they pretend to have transparency.
Have I not answered a question that I was asked?
You haven't answered when this was decided, and who decided, and why it wasn't communicated to the majority council.
I will answer your questions. I don't know when it was decided. I don't know who decided it.
So my third question is, why wasn't all of council notified of this hour and a half time limit? Was the applicant notified about this hour and a half time limit?
I found out about it just on maybe half hour before.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, there's plenty of time to tell your clients who traveled here and your experts who traveled here that their time will be limited. And now it's gonna cost you more time because you're gonna have to travel to another meeting, right?
That is correct.
Ridiculous.
Where'd you find this guy, Priscilla?
I'm sorry?
Where'd you find him, Priscilla? I'm asking you.
I can't hear you.
Where did you find this? Is he a solicitor?
What is it, what is
I'm
it?
asking Priscilla.
I didn't hear what you said still.
Where did you find him?
Find who?
The solicitor.
That's not relevant to
I mean,
tonight's
we're gonna have the township
discussion.
manager the question, okay? The question of the township manager is, why didn't you communicate that on the agenda?
Can I make a motion to end this debate?
Thank you.
Make whatever motion you want.
I'm making a motion to end this debate.
It's a legitimate
I'll
question.
second that.
Okay, transparency.
There's been
Folks, there's
a,
transparency at work.
you know what? You keep interrupting me, Jason,
What are you gonna do
okay?
about it?
I was gonna ask you,
Gavel,
I'm
Go ahead, gavel.
not gonna gavel you, I'm gonna
You're
tell
waving your
you.
hammer around like you want to, so go ahead and do it.
Sorry, I can't for the record.
You know what? You're really being rude, and it's really uncalled for. And we need to follow our resolution that we passed, not only for the residents to follow, but also for the people up here.
How about you communicate to the council that you put a self-imposed time limit on this hearing where these folks are here? How about we do start with that? You wanna talk about fairness?
All right,
Keep banging,
Jason.
keep banging. What are you gonna do about it?
You
Keep
know,
banging. All you
all right,
want.
fine.
2 minutes that you had for speaking, 2 minutes. Remember
Okay,
that when
let's
you
go
put
into
in?
recess. I
2
make a
minutes.
motion, there's a motion on the floor.
I renew my
What's the
motion to end this debate.
Okay, we have two motions. All right, go ahead. Roll call, please.
Ms. DeLeo, how do you
Yes,
vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Benonis?
What debate?
What's the vote? What's the motion?
What's the debate?
And the argument.
Can you define the
I'm
debate?
not arguing about anything.
Sounds it to me. Okay.
I'll
roll
stay for
call.
the vote since I'm not.
Stop interrupting, the manager is in the middle of a roll
He
call.
called me and I said I'm abstaining from the vote, I'm
That's
responding to
fine.
him, so what do we do? Shut up and first speak to him. I'm gonna answer his question, shut up and stop.
Ms. Fedora,
Yes.
Mr. Carosi,
I don't know what you're talking
Ms. Ray.
I'm not exactly sure of the motion either. Are we not ending the argument? Was that the motion, or are we
Yes.
taking a recess? Either way, I'll say yes.
Ending the argument.
And if, and if the continues,
Questions,
there will
Mark?
be a recess.
The questions, Mark?
Okay, and I will answer the question again. The manager was setting the agenda, and we were talking about time, and there's no reason why we can't assess a time limit on our agenda items.
The agenda was set on Friday and published on Friday. We're finding out about this today, on Wednesday, 4 or 5 days later.
Okay,
And the applicant only found out a half hour early. The applicant only found out.
I'll make a
half hour
motion to call
early.
for a recess. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Benonis, how do you vote?
No.
Ms. Fedora,
With regret to the public who's here and the applicant who's here, because I would like to move forward, but I will recess so we can hopefully establish some decorum. Thank you.
Mr. Carosi,
No.
Ms. Ray,
Yes, let's pause.
Ms. DeLeo,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay, well, we'll just sit here until, we behave like, adults.
Well, and an adult would have given notice to the applicant more than a half hour before the,
We're in recess, so you're not being recognized.
That's fine.
No, we're not in session, so there's no authority
That's
for what
right.
you're saying.
I can say whatever we want.
The result would have actually provided everybody else in council with notification of the hour and a half.
They certainly would have applied to the applicant. They would have notified the applicant. The same thing.
Are you guys smile tonight, Mark? Smile.
You sure it's not out in the parking lot walking around? Can't find the door? It's cold out there.
Okay, I'd like to reconvene the meeting, and the time is 6:54.
Let the record reflect that Mr. Carosi stepped away during the recess and hasn't been notified that the meeting is being reconvened. I believe he went to the men's room.
Would you continue, please, Mr. Solicitor?
He's in the hallway.
Could somebody step outside?
I'll get him.
Thank you.
So you're gonna apologize for not giving us notice about this hour and a half limit?
You're out of order.
If you apologize.
You're out of order, you're not being recognized. The meeting has been reconvened and the time is now, I'm gonna go by that clock over there.
Do we vote on the opening meeting?
59, you're not recognized to speak. Now, pay attention, you know how the meetings run.
I have attention deficit disorder, I'm sorry.
I apologize. Okay, so, I'm sorry, again, I'm gonna let you have the floor.
With regard to the timing and the hearing, given that there's been questions raised about the timing, the amount of time, I was asked to explain how the Municipality Authority Act works, not municipality, the Municipality Planning Code works with regard to conditional uses, so that there's at least an understanding by council as to how much time they had to actually complete the hearings. So under the municipality's planning code, conditional use is to be convened within 60 days of the application. That's the first hearing. Hearing can be called, hearing can be adjourned. As long as the hearing is called within 60 days, it's compliant. It can also be extended by the applicant. Once the hearing's been convened, there's 100 days, council has 100 days to complete the applicant's case in chief. There should not be more than 45 days between hearings, and upon the applicant's request, the applicant should have at least 7 hours to testify. Again, the applicant can extend the 100 days, the applicant can extend the 45 days. I don't expect that the 7-hour issue is going to be an issue. Once the applicant completes their case, the objectors, whoever has party status, if there is anyone with party status, and anyone opposing it also has 100 days to complete their case. Again, unless extended, I'm familiar with the case a little bit south of here in Springfield Township that I believe took about 3 years to complete, conditional use matter. And then that's what the municipality's planning code says as far as timing goes for conducting a conditional use.
What does any of that have to do with an hour and a half time limit?
You need to be recognized.
Can I be recognized? What does any of that have to do with the hour and a half time limit tonight? What does any of that have to do with the hour and a half time limit tonight? Nothing.
We're moving on to the.
Can he answer my question? Is he incapable of that? Is he incompetent?
Yeah, I can answer your question. The very first thing I said, I'm sorry, maybe I said it too quickly. The very first thing I said was that a meeting can be called and frankly immediately adjourned, and it's still compliant with the municipality's planning code. So, is there, I don't know if there's a claim that we're not doing this in accordance with the municipality's planning code?
Well, I mean,
I think you're stringing along the applicant to make them come to multiple meetings to waste their time and money so that they can't have a decision on this, is what I think.
And the record will reflect the opinion of Mr. Benonis.
I'd argue from a transparency point of view, why weren't they told prior to a half hour before the meeting, or why wasn't the rest of council told? Why wasn't it just simply put on the agenda on Friday that this would be an hour and a half hearing? Problem solved. Why wasn't it done?
And in future, it will be.
So just say you made a mistake and apologize, and we can move on.
I'm not apologizing for anything. So, can we move on?
Can I be recognized and suggest that we at least start the process? I think there's some procedural things that we need.
We can't hear you.
I said, if I can be recognized, I would like us just to start the process. I think there's some procedural things we're gonna need to take, that are gonna take some time. I'm inclined to just move forward if we may, as the applicant's counsel.
Yeah, since you're raising the issue, just to complete the record, you had reached out to me, I think, this afternoon,
Yes.
maybe earlier this afternoon, just to talk about the process and the procedure for the.
That is
site,
correct,
right?
yes.
So initially, what I'd like to do, having discussed timing, the council has a number of exhibits that I'd like to mark. For the record, I have provided council for the applicant with a copy of the exhibits. Council Exhibit 1 is the conditional use submission from the applicant. Council Exhibit 2 is the public notice and proof of advertising. Council Exhibit 3 is the Lower Saucon Township conditional use public hearing posting. Council Exhibit 4 is the affidavit of posting. Council Exhibit 5 is the affidavit of mailing. Council Exhibit 6 is the Hanover Engineering Review Letter. Council Exhibit 7 is the Lower Saucon Township Planning Commission motion with regard to this conditional use application. And Council Exhibit 8 is a zoning hearing board decision from November 17th, 2004, related to Toronto and Heather Messina. Does the applicant have an objection to any of the exhibits?
The applicant takes issue with Exhibit C8, the zoning hearing board decision, just being submitted without the context of the minutes and other documentation related to that zoning appeal.
Okay, so what we'll do is for this evening, we'll admit exhibits C1 through C7, and we will withhold making a ruling with regard to C.
Thank you.
So the next step in this process is to see if there's any folks out there that would like to have party status in this proceeding. Just a brief explanation. Party status is available to people who might be impacted by the use at issue in the application. What party status does is it allows you to fully participate in the hearing. You have the ability to present your own case. You have the ability to present your own evidence. You have the ability to cross-examine other parties' witnesses. It also provides you with at least the ability to appeal to the Court of Common Pleas if you're unhappy with the results of the council's decision on the conditional use hearing. I will note that just because you're given party status before this council doesn't necessarily mean that the Court of Common Pleas is going to give you party status. The standards are a little bit more rigorous in front of the Court of Common Pleas. However, if you don't have party status here, you're essentially waiving your ability for party status in front of the Court of Common Pleas. That all said, you do not need to be a party to comment. There will be an opportunity at the end of the hearing, which may not be tonight, because the hearing may continue beyond tonight. There will be an opportunity at the end of the hearing for people to comment who don't have party status. So if that's the issue and you want to make sure that your voice is heard and you have an opinion about this, you do not need party status. There will be an opportunity at the end of the hearing proceedings to make a comment. So with all that said, does anyone here tonight seek party status?
Mr. Freed, my name is, and Mr. You can't hear? You can't hear me?
You gotta speak in the microphone. Sorry. It has to be green, green lights on.
It is. My name is Michael Deschler. I'm an attorney in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. My address is 44 East Broad Street, Suite 210, Bethlehem, PA 18018. I am here representing Danielle Yanchuk, Bilal Khan, and Russell Sutton, all of whom are property owners in the immediate vicinity of the proposed cell tower.
Can I ask you to spell your clients' names and give me their addresses?
I could spell their names.
Okay. Will you be presenting them for testimony with regard to standing?
Yes,
So the names are?
Danielle Yanchuk, Yanchuk. Your address is
2148
2148
Saucon Avenue,
Saucon Avenue,
Bethlehem.
Bethlehem, PA 18015. Russell Sutton, Sutton.
2133 Saucon Avenue.
2133 Saucon Avenue, Bethlehem, PA 18018. Mr. Khan's address?
That would be one.
I will obtain Mr. Khan's address.
Oh, I do. 2153 Saucon Avenue.
2153 Saucon Avenue, Bethlehem, PA 18015 for Mr. Khan.
Okay, would you like to present testimony with regard to their standing?
Sure.
I will agree that Mrs. Yanchuk has standing as one of the property owners that received notice within the requisite radius. I would object to the other two having not been in that required radius for receipt of notice.
So we do not need Ms. Yanchak's testimony, but we will need the other two clients.
Can I ask if Ms. Daly owns property in the area?
Yes, I have some questions for her.
Should she recuse herself?
I have, we can get to that now, or let's
process.
that, and then I will be asking some questions of council.
Okay.
Go ahead, Attorney Sessions.
Would you state your name, please?
Russell Sutton,
And where do you reside, Mr. Sutton?
2133 Saucon Avenue.
And you own that property?
Yes, I do.
And what is the relative location of that property to the proposed cell tower?
Right across the street.
Objection, it's not right across the street. The properties right across the street are identified on the
Depends
map.
where you're putting it, you have 3 different locations.
It's perpendicular, but I live real close to Priscilla, I'm her neighbor. So I'm behind Priscilla, so it affects me.
How far do you live from the Vecino property, from the property itself?
About, maybe 300-400 feet.
And would the erection of the cell tower in its proposed location have an impact on your property and on you?
Yes, it would.
And what do you believe the impact would be?
The impact is scenic, one thing. 2, I don't know what the ramifications are of the cell tower. I moved to that area specifically because I didn't want high tension lines or cell towers in my vicinity. And I'm just concerned about it, and also the safety.
Would the cell tower be visible from your property?
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
What are you basing it on that it's going to be visible from your property?
How tall is the tower?
No, she gets to ask
I'm asking
questions.
you a question.
I'll be able to see it from my property.
What are you basing that on?
What am I basing that on? It's 175 feet tall. I definitely would see it.
It is not 175 feet tall.
I'll be able to see it from my property and interfere with my view. And it disrupts the scenery of the nature of where I live. And that's why I chose to live there. I didn't want to interfere with a tower sticking out of the woods.
I continue my objection that it is not within the requisite radius that the township has set for those property owners that would be affected by the conditional use that's before council this evening.
I got a question, when did you move there?
You have to be addressed, you have to address the council. Okay, you're not doing that, Tom, so you're not recognized.
He has it on the meeting.
Well, yes, after you ask.
I'm
35 years ago.
35 years ago, you were worried about cell phone towers. 35 years ago, you were worried about cell phone towers. That's what you said. You said you moved there because you didn't want it. 35 years ago, you were worried
You
about
do
cell
not badger with people.
I'm not, I'm asking you a question. 35
You're
years ago, you were worried
badgering
about
the
cell
person.
phone. 35 years ago,
You're
were you
out of order.
worried about cell phone towers?
want them in my vicinity. That's why I moved there.
35 years ago.
35, because of the scenic value where I am, because of the nature of the forest and the stuff that you're destroying on a regular basis.
But it wasn't a cell phone tower. That wasn't your concern.
Excuse me?
35 years ago, a cell phone tower was not your concern.
Power lines too?
Right, the power lines, but not the cell phone tower.
Anything that would obstruct my view of the forest is my concern. Do you understand that? No, I guess you don't.
Can you recognize?
Can he be recognized? Sure, go ahead.
Isn't there a big water tower that's there as well?
The water tower is covered by, you can't see it for the trees, but due to the recent forestry, now you can see it.
So there's a water tower that you can see.
I know there's a water tower, but the water tower is not as high as a cell tower.
What's the elevation? What's above sea level?
The
top of water
elevation
tower?
of the cell tower is.
No, the water tower, not the cell tower. We're talking about the water tower.
Say again?
What's the elevation at the top of the water tower?
Probably 60 feet.
Is, maybe the applicant can answer this question, maybe you can, I'll ask it to you first. Is the top of the water tower higher than the top of the proposed cell phone tower, if you know?
Is the top of the water tower,
Yeah, did you hear me? I said, is the top of the water tower higher than the top of the cell phone tower, if you know?
the cell tower is going to be higher than the water tower.
Okay, but the water tower doesn't bother you, but the cell phone tower is gonna bother you because of the height.
The water tower is a necessity because it supplies us with water. The cell tower is not a
I didn't ask
necessity.
you about necessities, sir. I didn't ask you about necessities, and that's your assessment as to what's necessary and what's not. Okay, I'm asking you about the elevation, the height.
Elevation's about 60 feet. Is that good enough?
Well, I don't think you really answered my question, but we'll move
I
on.
did answer it, 60 feet.
Okay, we're not
I said a comparison, sir.
You're
Comparison.
harassing me.
No, I'm not harassing you, I'm asking you questions. You chose to come to this meeting, you chose to speak during this meeting, and I have the opportunity to ask you questions. That's the way this works. If you don't want me to ask you questions, don't come here.
And I answered your question.
You're
60 feet.
argumentative, Jason.
I'm not argumentative, the gentleman's arguing with me.
My opinion is you're argumentative.
I'm not asking your opinion.
I'm running this meeting, so, all right, you won't be recognized then.
Okay, see how that goes.
Then we'll just,
And on what basis are you saying that your property is 300 to 400 feet away? Because Mrs. De Leon's house is over 500 feet away from where the monopole is proposed to be located. And if you live on the other side of her, you would be further than that away.
I'll still be able to see.
And again, I renew my objection because there's no basis formed of visibility as well as proximity.
You can see everything with all the logging that happened.
do you recognize?
They don't know.
I'm sorry, I have ADHD.
Yeah. So do I understand.
I would recommend that Mr. Sutton be granted party status. We can proceed to allow him to act as a witness party status, not to the council shall be succeeded to make the final.
I'm sorry, any reason?
We can proceed as though he has party status, and then the council can make that determination when they issue the final decision. Do you have another witness?
He is not here tonight.
Okay, so then we're not gonna rule on that.
Can we wait to do that?
Ed, if he appears at the next meeting, he
I
can,
anticipate that he will be present at the next meeting.
but unless and until that point.
Well, I'm gonna have to object because everybody was given notice to come to tonight's hearing, and for all intents and purposes, I could conclude all my testimony and evidence this
Good.
evening, in which case Mr. Khan would not be here present to be able to be a party to the matter. So I renew my objection if he's not present this evening to be able to provide documentation or confirmation on the record that he should be given party status. He should not be given party status or an opportunity to come later. He certainly has the ability, as you referenced earlier, to be able to make statements at the end, but I would object to him having party status if he's not present.
Since we're not gonna be making a rule on that tonight, so we can address that.
Bob, you recognize?
Sure, Tom, go
I have
ahead.
a question. Did you know, that this, witness was not gonna be here tonight?
Did I know?
Yeah.
How would I know?
Well, did you communicate with Mr. Deschler? Is this the reason for the hour and a half time?
Oh my God.
Did you communicate with Mr. Deschler about his witnesses not being available?
I did not.
And needing another.
I did communicate with your son.
Yes. What was the nature of that communication?
The nature of the communication was a letter that he sent to the township requesting that the matter be continued beyond tonight.
And that's when you set the hour and a half limit?
Okay, I understand the ADHD thing, but I think I've said about a dozen times that I did not set the hour and a half.
Why have we seen this letter? This letter requesting that this matter be continued was not provided to the majority council.
The general counsel.
Well, the solicitor apparently received it. and
I
expressed the
provided it
manager
to the
did.
solicitor because it was from a lawyer, for the lawyers.
So I think I'm still recognized, so instead of the continuance, you just put an hour and a half limit on it. So that he could show up another
Okay.
night. Is that true, Mr. Besser?
We've already addressed
No,
that issue.
So that who could show up another day?
Your witness, Mr. Bilal, is it?
No,
Are we gonna-
my son, who is on a vacation that he takes once a year, requested it so he could be present. It had nothing to do with Mr. Khan.
Okay.
So,
And that is what the letter said.
that's what the letter said, and I responded to the letter, and you were copied on that,
I
right?
did receive that.
And my response to the letter was, I was not gonna make any determination about a continuance or extent. Well, I said, well, it's noticed and we're moving forward. But as far as whether or not we're gonna complete the hearing tonight or another night, that will be something that we'll discuss at the hearing.
That is exactly what your response was.
Thank
Okay. The record's straight on that, okay. Okay, can we continue?
I believe we're done with party status, so I'll turn it over to the applicant.
Okay, so nobody else raised their hand?
I'm sorry, is there anyone else who is seeking party status? No? Okay,
Okay,
so then
so
you,
let the record reflect that there's only 3 individuals seeking party status.
only 3 individuals seeking party status, one you consented to.
Yeah.
No?
My name is Sonia Miller. I live at 2116 Saucon Avenue. My property does not meet with Vistos, but I did receive a letter from their lawyer to come to the meeting. So if Russell lives closer than I do, why did I receive a letter from their lawyer?
The notifications were based on GIS from the county, and the county spits out who's in that geographic area, and we have to use the mailing addresses that are based on that according to the ordinance. So I can't answer the question except to say that the GIS has identified that property owner's property to be within the requisite radius.
So ma'am, are you-
Russell's property is closer than mine.
Are you seeking party status?
Yes.
And can you spell your last name for me?
It's Miller, and the first name is Sonia, Sonja.
Given that Ms. Miller received a written notice, do you have any objection?
I do not have any objection.
You have party status.
May I be recognized?
Sure.
This question is for our engineer. Are you able to, pull up, is there a way to pull up a map of Saucon Avenue? Just identify the location of the proposed objectors?
I don't have any way of doing it right now.
Okay. Maybe, pending the length of this hearing, if we do extend beyond to another hearing, as counsel, I would like to see what the location is of the applicant vis-a-vis the 4 proposed objectors.
If I may, it is, the map is in the township's packet. It was
Okay.
attached to the affidavit of mailing. I mean, interrupt, I was trying to.
No, thank you. Do you know what exhibit that is?
So that is part of the
C1.
C5 affidavit of mailing. That is the map that the GIS gave us from,
You know what I'm just trying to figure out.
sure, it's the page right before the cover page saying exhibit C6.
Okay, you said the notice of public hearing is just after that?
So it's the affidavit of mailing, which is C5, and the last
C5. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to, our packet is sticking together.
No,
so-
that's fine. It's,
Okay.
it's the page, this is the cover page that says Exhibit C6. It's
Yeah.
the page immediately before that.
Okay, I'm getting close, I promise.
No. And it looks like this.
It's after all the reference to the people.
And just while you're finding it, what happens is you're required to go on the Northampton County GIS map, and you identify the property that's the subject of the hearing, and then it provides you with a radius. And then
Okay.
provides the addresses and the tax parcel numbers of those properties.
Okay, is it possible to show that exhibit to, Mr. Sutton?
Well, I can tell you that Mr. Sutton lives on the other side of the cul-de-sac, so he would not be within that radius. Would be number 2.
Okay, so Mr. Leon has identified number 2, can you look at number 2 and see if number 2 is, will you agree that number 2 is in fact Mr. Sutton's property?
I can't tell on this which one he is, but I know he is on the other side of the cul-de-sac, as is Mr. Khan.
Could we show this to Mr. Sutton?
This is, can we go off the record just for a second, because it'd be easier for me than her trying to pick up, if I could just show him. No,
I'm okay with it.
She wants to go off the
I
record.
just go off the record for a second, so I can explain to him what I'm talking about, and then we can go back.
That's
on.
fine,
Okay.
we're off.
Yes, okay. We can go back. Number 2 on that tax map is Mr. Sutton's property, as he just identified.
Okay, does our township staff have the ability to pull this up? To show on the big screen? I don't wanna go through all that, maybe if it's okay, we could just have it marked, like with an X or something, or let the record reflect that number 2 on this map, that's part of exhibit, like C5, C5 or C6?
C5.
C5, so the map, the colored map on C5 that depicts all of the residents within this radius. There are numbers on each parcel, property parcel, and that everybody's agreeing that parcel number 2 is in fact Mr. Sutton's property. I think that would be sufficient, if we could just make that part of the record, if that's okay.
I don't have an objection. I know that he lives on that cul-de-sac, I just didn't know which parcel.
Okay, and then, Miss, I'm sorry, the last name of the last objector was Miller, and Miller was within?
Yes.
Was within, so she is not, you're not objecting to her status?
I did not.
Okay, and we don't know Mr. Khan's parcel number?
I know that Mr. Khan is either 3, 4, 5, or 6.
Okay,
Sorry.
okay,
I know.
well, that narrows it down for me, so thank
I
you.
know he's on the other side of the cul-de-sac, but I don't know which one.
Okay, thank you.
I can identify a sign. She can too.
I don't have any other questions, I thought that would be helpful for my understanding
Oh,
of
Mr. Collins.
the objectors.
Mr. Khan is number 5.
Is number 5, so everybody's agreeing that Mr. Sutton is number 2 and Mr. Khan is number 5?
Thank
Okay.
you, Mr. Sutton.
That's all the questions I have, thank you, Ms. Deland.
Okay, can we continue with the hearing, please? I have to preserve for the record the fact that Ms. De Leon lives across the street. She is an immediate property owner, and I would ask whether you are in a position to need to recuse yourself if you are going to be biased in rendering a decision on the conditional use request that is going to be ultimately decided by this council.
Okay.
And the reason I have to ask is I need to preserve it for the record.
I understand, I've been here a long time, I understand. Okay, so my process is to call the State Ethics Commission, explain to them the situation, and they issued an advice
for me, and I'm allowed to participate in these hearings.
May I see that?
And just, if I can say though, the
Public
state,
record.
the state ethics would be looking at whether or not you have a pecuniary interest in the matter, which you likely would not have a pecuniary
Right.
interest, because you would not be paid for a legal interest. My question though to you is whether you would be biased in rendering a decision when a communications tower is proposed immediately across the street from you. It's different than
I understand.
the ethics making a determination as to whether or not you have an interest that would be involved in the granting or denial of a conditional use request. This is more of whether there would be a bias in you rendering a decision in the matter.
So can I, just for clarity, so you're not saying it's, the claim is not based on the ethics code, it's based on a generalized bias?
Yes. I mean, I guess it could potentially become a pecuniary interest if there's going to be an argument made as to whether or not the wireless communication facility is going to have an adverse impact on property values, in which case there is a value associated with Ms. Daly owns property. So that is going to be part of the argument presented, that I would argue that she also then has pecuniary interest because she could be adversely affected from, if that's going to be the argument that's made. Obviously, that's not the argument I'm going to make, but if that's going to be an argument that's made or presented by Ms. Daly own, that her property is going to be negatively impacted by the tower, it would be a pecuniary interest.
Okay, on January 2nd, I took an oath of office, and I swore to uphold the truth and whatever else I don't know, we just heard the oath tonight. And I look at each case, and I don't have a bias, and it is what it is, so I don't.
But would there have been a reason why then, when Mr. Descudo's property was before council back in whatever it was, 2004, and in that case, you made a determination that you needed to recuse yourself in
I
the
don't think I
determination?
recused myself, I voted on that.
You voted on, I believe that the minutes show that you said you should not be involved in the determination of whether or not there should be an objection made.
I
at
don't
the
remember, I
hearing.
have to see the minutes, I don't recall that. So, I don't recall that, and that's a different situation.
Well, it's a zoning matter involving the same property, and you did appear as an interested party in Mr. Descudo's zoning board hearing.
I'd have to see the minutes, I don't recall, that was a long time ago. I'm speaking with Ms. Durso right now.
Again, I just have to preserve for the record.
I understand, totally, and I want the record to reflect that I'm not biased, so. yeah.
I have no other questions of Ms. De Leon, but if Mr. Bonolis does. Or you have a question for me, Mr. Bonolis, or Ms. De Leon?
I just have a general question, maybe somebody can answer this. May I be recognized?
Absolutely.
Thank you. What changed from 2004 when you had a conflict that you identified that prevented, hold on, I'm not done asking the question, that indicated you had a conflict then, you recused yourself, and now 2024, where you perceive that you don't have that same conflict? What's the difference?
I don't recall, Jason, I just said that, didn't you listen?
No, I'm not asking you don't recall. I understand you don't recall having recused yourself, but I'm saying, let's assume that you did. Let's assume that what Mr.
No, we
Urso here
can't
tells
assume.
you.
I'm not answering
Let
your
me
question.
finish the question. Mr. Urso, I'm sure you have some record that reflects this, all right? We're not making these things up. You're a member of the bar, you're here.
I have not been able to locate all of the minutes, but I do have the minutes from the zoning board hearing, in which case Mrs. De
I believe I
Leon.
was the chair of that matter at the time, right?
You were, and that she participated as an interested party in the matter, and provided testimony, at least according to the minutes.
May I be recognized?
Sure, Tom.
Okay. All right, we had a planning commission meeting on this in December. You were there, Ms. Durso.
Yes.
And Ms. De Leon spoke as a resident and said that this would adversely affect her property value. Remember, she spoke as a resident, not as a council member. And she said it would adversely, at that meeting, that it would adversely affect her property value. And she was against it. So she's already showed her bias prior to this hearing. Because she spoke at a public meeting, a planning commission meeting, where she showed her bias. She said she's against it because it would adversely affect her property.
I don't recall exactly what she said, but she was present there, and she did advise the planning commission that she was there as, I believe, as a citizen, yes. I don't want to put words in her mouth, I don't know exactly.
Okay, she spoke negatively about the project, would you classify it as that?
I would classify she didn't speak positively about it, so I guess you could infer.
There was a negative bias there? How could someone in
Okay,
December,
it's up to Ms.
how could someone in December speak negatively about a cell phone tower or process? And then, when the hearing starts, say they are unbiased and willing to listen to all the hearing testimony and come to an unbiased decision? How can you be biased 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, with expressing a negative opinion against this project, and then sit at a hearing and say you're unbiased, you're willing to listen to all the testimony from Mr. Deschler's clients and from the applicant as unbiased? How does that work?
That really is not for me.
Mr. Solicitor, how does that work? Well, are you allowed to be biased at one meeting but unbiased at other meetings? Well,
I will tell you, I find it somewhat ironic that we're talking about bias when we seem to have clearly drawn lines based on the questions and the arguments that are being made on this dais.
So public statements of the planning.
You understand my point, sir?
No. So public statements at a planning commission meeting, what do they mean? In this context of this hearing, anything?
Well, here's the good news. There's not gonna be a vote tonight, so we don't have to make a determination on whether or not she needs to vote or not.
And I'm voting.
But what about even conducting the hearing? Should someone with bias even be allowed to conduct it?
She can conduct the hearing.
In your opinion?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, sir, Mr. Deschler?
Section 603 of the second-class township code provides in part, a member of the board shall not be disqualified from voting on any issue before the board solely because the member has previously expressed an opinion on the issue in either an official or unofficial capacity. That's your second-class township code.
I've worked with Mr. Deschler over the years, and I appreciate that. He's always prepared. I would love to have heard that from our solicitor, that the township taxpayers are actually paying, but apparently that's a little beyond him. But thank you, Mr. Deschler, for that excellent explanation.
Well,
Can I
now
cut to
that
the chase right
Mr.
away?
Deschler has said that, I guess I'm not gonna change my mind and go with the same answer I already gave. Thank you, sir.
And again, I was
Still
just,
may be recognized.
my question was to ask whether you could make the decision and not be biased. And that was the intent of my question, which you have answered.
Thank you for being prepared, Mr. Deschler. I appreciate it. Maybe we should have hired you.
The credit goes to my son.
Thank him for me. Perhaps we should have hired you as solicitor.
Okay, Jason? Sure, Jason.
Mr. Durfin, have you seen a copy of this December 27, 2023 letter that Mrs. De Leon had referenced as providing advice to her by the State Ethics Commission?
I have not.
Okay.
I have not. I believe I asked for it at one of the council meetings, but it was not provided.
I have two opinions
Well,
from the
this one,
state ethics.
I'm not done. This one is dated December 27, 2023. This seems to be a newer one. There was an earlier one that came up when you were before us. I believe it was perhaps in October.
I believe so, yes.
So, do you have that one?
I don't have either.
You don't have either one?
I don't have either one. I was aware that a statement was made at the October
So
council that
Mrs.
she
De
had.
Leon is asking you to take her word, based upon her reading and interpretation of this, that's what it says. If you haven't seen the actual documents themselves.
I have not.
Okay.
I would, if we could, I wouldn't mind getting copies of both of those, and then, because obviously we're not going to conclude this evening, and I will review them.
You may want to send a right to know request, because it seems to be very difficult getting information out of this council.
Be a team player.
I was going to volunteer this as exhibits, but I'm not familiar with the process. I don't know how to do that. So I have both of them right here. The conditional use for the variances, which I don't think is appropriate for tonight's meeting, but I do have the new one with the conditional use that I called and got it. So I, thought ahead and I'm prepared. So
That's fine.
And
If Mr. Freed, if Attorney Freed could email that to me at his convenience.
Why don't we mark those as, Council Exhibit 9 and Council Exhibit 10, and we'll provide copies.
Yeah, I guess I have to object to them to the
All
one I
right,
haven't
so
seen
we'll-
them. I just haven't
Why
seen
are
them
you
yet.
objecting?
I haven't seen them yet.
I will mark them.
I can't allow somebody to come in without seeing them.
I will mark them as C9 and C10, and then without admitting them, and then we can
That would be
address
great.
that.
you want both of them, right? You want both of them, right?
It's up to you what you want to put in.
It's a public record, anybody can get it from the Ethics Commission. Okay, can we continue because the time is clicking, and I have marked down 7:05 is when we started this.
Okay, 7:05, so I have till 8:30?
Just keep going, just
I'll make a motion to extend it by a half an hour, give 2 hours.
I'll second.
Motion on the floor.
Roll call, please.
Stop bickering.
Ms. Vera, how do you vote?
It's a peace offering.
Mr. Perry, how do you vote?
Yes,
Ms. Ray, how do you vote?
half an hour.
No.
Mr. Guillen, how do you vote?
No.
Mr. Bedonis?
Yes.
Motion fails.
Okay, so we just wasted a couple minutes, I'm sorry, Kate. Okay, so where were we?
May I proceed with my case?
Yes, please do.
I'm going to present the board with an exhibit package containing 18 exhibits. I'm going to take them through the various witnesses.
Thanks.
I'm sorry. I know. Yeah.
Oh, you're, thank you.
Does everybody have one? Yeah. Just for the board's indulgence, I have 3 witnesses with me. The first witness is a site acquisition representative who's going to talk about,
Can I have quiet in the room, please, so she can speak out of respect?
the site acquisition representative who is going to provide testimony with regard to how the property was determined. We have a civil engineer with us who's going to talk about the specifics of the site, and we have a radio frequency engineer who's going to talk about the radio frequency and how these facilities operate. So I only say that in case you have specific questions. They might be geared to another witness, but we'll take it in time. Do you want to swear all 3 witnesses in at the same time, if I may?
Raise your right hand. Do you swear by Almighty God or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, except the answer I do?
I do.
Please state your name for the record.
Sue Manchell,
And spell your last name.
Manchel,
And Ms. Manchell, where do you work?
Wireless Access Technologies.
And is your company a consultant for Verizon Wireless?
Yes,
And are you known in the industry as being a site acquisition consultant?
yes,
Is Verizon Wireless licensed by the FCC to provide wireless services in Lower Saucon Township and the surrounding area?
yes,
I'm going to show you what's marked in the exhibit package as exhibit applicant 1 is exhibit 1, copies of the various FCC licenses maintained by Verizon Wireless as either Cellco Partnership or as Verizon Wireless in this geographic area.
yes,
Do these licenses authorize the wireless communication facility that's proposed at the subject property?
yes,
Is the subject property located at 4235 Lewis Avenue?
yes,
And as noted earlier, the owner of the subject property is Rocco and Heather Vecito.
yes,
Has the owner signed a lease agreement with Verizon Wireless authorizing submission for the approvals?
yes,
Was a copy of the redacted lease provided with the conditional use application?
yes,
Is a copy of the lease also included in council's exhibit 1 conditional use submission? Can you repeat that, sir? Can't really hear.
yeah, that's why I was.
Maybe the microphone, maybe the microphone, slide that over. That should be on, if you can hear me.
Can you hear me or?
No, can't hear her.
Okay, sorry, sorry. I said, was a copy of the redacted lease provided with the conditional use application?
Yes.
And is a copy of that redacted lease also included in council's exhibit C1 as part of the conditional use submission?
Yes.
With regard to the subject property, it is located within the rural agricultural zone, correct?
Correct.
And are tower-based communication facilities permitted by conditional use in this zone?
Yes.
Is the subject property over 10 acres in size?
Yes.
And what is currently located on the property?
Residential home, some additional structures, there's some wooded areas on the property as well.
And why was this property chosen by you on behalf of Verizon Wireless?
It was in an area where RF, our radio frequency engineer, wanted us to be. It's located in the RA zone. It's over 10 acres, large enough to make the setbacks, and there's existing dense vegetation on the property.
And okay, Ms. De Leon, you just said you were going to be able to not be biased.
I'm listening, but I'm not gonna sit here and listen to lies. Go ahead.
I'm not lying.
Again, I'm going to review my objection, Ms. De Leon. If you're going to provide commentary, then you can't be. And
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
I think it shows the bias.
Shows bias, she should recuse herself from the meeting.
Why does the chair please let Mr. Durso continue?
Interrupted her with your comment.
why was this specific location on the property selected?
It meets the setbacks to the property lines in the home.
Will Verizon Wireless maintain the insurance required by the ordinance?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's marked in the exhibit package as Exhibit A2. Is Exhibit A2 a copy of the certificate of liability insurance as required by the zoning ordinance?
Yes.
Has the required notice of an emergency contact been provided?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's marked in the exhibit package as Exhibit 3. As Exhibit 3, the required contact name and phone number that's required to be at the site.
Yes.
And this would be posted at the site in addition to being provided to the township.
Yes, it will be posted.
Were you present at the Planning Commission meeting on December 21st, 2023?
Yes, I was.
And at that time, did the Planning Commission recommend conditional use approval contingent on satisfying the comments in Hanover Engineers review letter?
Yes.
And although I know it's in council's exhibit package, but for the record, is Exhibit 4 in the packet a copy of the recommendation from the Planning Commission?
Yes.
And it's dated January 10th, 2024, the letter.
Yes.
Has compliance with the National Environmental Policy Act commenced as required for a wireless communication facility?
Yes.
Does part of that analysis include having a Phase 1 environmental assessment completed at the property?
Yes.
Does it also include providing various notifications to any Indian tribes that might be affected, the Pennsylvania Historic Museum Commission, and other related entities?
Yes.
As required by the ordinance, I'm going to show you what's marked as Exhibit 5. Is Exhibit 5 the relevant portion of the Phase 1, confirming the summary and no issues from a Phase 1 perspective?
Yes.
That is all the questions I have of Ms. Manshell.
Questions on
Ms. Manshell, just a couple questions.
Sure.
You referenced existing intense vegetation at the site.
Yes.
When was the last time you were at the site?
A few months ago, but we do have photo sets.
Can you hear?
She could talk louder.
We do have photo simulations that we will show you.
When were they taken?
Wait, it's my turn. Okay. And why is existing intense vegetation a factor in your site selection?
It does minimize the visual impact of the tower.
Are you aware that significant place in this site in
Yes.
the last 4 months?
Yes.
Have you witnessed the site post-logging?
Like I said, I wasn't there. I was there a couple months ago, but we do have photo simulations that were done a week ago.
Okay, I understand, but just, you haven't seen the site as it currently exists post-logging, correct?
No.
That's all. Thank you.
Redirect,
I'm
or do
gonna-
you want to ask your questions first?
Let's see if, council has any questions.
Sure.
Then you can redirect. Council, have any questions?
I do have a question. Can I be recommended?
Yes.
Thank you. In going through Exhibit A1, you talked about, and forgive me if I get the terminology of this particular expert, that you were advised that the Vecito property was in the area for a frequency tower that Verizon was looking for. I think you used that terminology. You said that this property was identified as a property within an area.
Yes,
Within the RA.
she's talking about, you testified that the radio frequency engineer identified the
Yes,
area.
radio
Okay,
frequency,
sorry,
yes.
I
Sorry about that.
Okay.
I didn't understand.
Sorry, so the
Yeah,
radio
no
frequency,
problem.
that's the expert. The radio frequency engineer advised you that the Vecito property was within the area of, for a, cell phone tower, is that right? Am I saying this right?
So typically what happens is, and Andy Peterson will testify to this more specifically, so you're probably, get more depth information. But we get an area that will work for our engineers, that we have to look in. And what I do is I review the ordinances to select a property. At first, I look for any existing structures. Well, I'll review the ordinances, look for any existing structures, pick a property where the township wants us to locate the tower. And this
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but you said where the township wants you to pick the
yeah,
property?
so the township has zoned this
Oh, based on the
RA,
zoning, okay.
based on the
Okay.
zoning.
Okay,
So
got it.
RA, this is where the township directs us to, build a tower, so that's what I do.
Okay, and what is the approximate size of the area that you are looking at? Like when you are given an area, can you tell me like how many square miles?
I would say this is what, about a quarter?
If you don't know the answer, you'll have to.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to, I think it's about a quarter of a mile, I think, I'm positive.
Okay, so, and maybe the, radio frequency engineer can answer that question.
Yeah, he can answer it more specifically.
And do you know whether the area included, just Lower Saucon, or if it included any other municipalities?
No, just Lower Saucon.
It included just Lower Saucon?
Yes.
Do you know, how the radio frequency engineer comes to determine this area?
He's going to have to testify to that.
Just, because it might be easier, so the radio frequency engineer is going to explain how the technology works, how an area is determined to be needed, how a site then is determined based on what the height needs to be, existing structures and whatnot. She's not,
all that.
yeah, she's not trying to not answer your question, but that would be his role.
Okay, and you use the information that he provides you to then move to the next,
Selected a site location.
okay. How many property owners did you approach for a location?
I would say about 5, approximately. I mean, I can tell you, I'm gonna tell it, yeah. So we went to the Bushkill Motorcycle Club.
Okay,
They were not, eventually they were not, they didn't want a tower on their property. Went to the landfill, because as you know, they're expanding, or they want to expand, they said no. I went to, the PPNL towers, and they're going to replace that whole line. so they did not allow us to go on their property. Use the tower, because sometimes we'll use PPL towers, we don't like to use them, but they're replacing those towers, so they said no.
Okay, would you agree with me that the landfill property, the PPNL property, and the motorcycle club property are all located higher than the Vecito property, like from, I guess we would call, ground level up if you were looking up the mountain?
When we went, when we looked at the motorcycle club property, they wanted us near the train tracks. Do you
Who
know?
wanted you near the
The
train?
motorcycle club. They didn't want us up the mountain, because
Okay.
they use that for going up and, their motorcycle club, right, to climb.
Did your radio frequency engineer specify whether they wanted the tower to be at the railroad track height level or further up the mountain?
They approved the location further down. They approved the location, nearest to the railroad track.
So you could have a tower that's next to the railroad tracks as opposed to on the Vecito property?
It would have been a use variance as well at that location. I forget how tall that tower was going to be. Had to be much taller than this tower.
Had you approached the fire company?
No,
Had you approached any
it's a
of,
much smaller property.
had
It's-
you,
Can I just say one thing?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. When I look at the ordinance, and the ordinance directs me to select a property, so this property, so the ordinance says it has to be over 10 acres. The fire company is not over 10 acres.
okay, so you
I
were
really,
specifically trying to find 10 acres as a minimum?
yes.
Okay. Do you know whether or not there are any 10-acre parcels below the Vecito property?
I think I'm just gonna object because she's not required to exhaust every single property in order to provide for conditional use. The conditional use criteria is that we meet the ordinance requirements and not that they have to eliminate every single property within the township for availability for a tower.
I'm not making any conclusion as to what the legal standard is. I'm just curious, I just would like to know what other properties she sought and whether she is familiar with the other properties within that area.
I am, I'm very familiar.
Okay, so, can you repeat the question back to me? I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question back?
Question, do you know whether or not there are any 10-acre parcels below the Vecito property?
So when you say below, you mean north?
If you are standing at the railroad tracks and everything at the railroad tracks would be above the railroad tracks. And so if you identify Mr. Vecito's property in relation to the railroad tracks, can you identify anything between the railroad tracks and Mr. Vecito's property that would be with at least 10 acres?
I don't know what she's asking.
I don't really understand what you're asking either. Are you trying to get at, did I look at any other properties over 10 acres? Because the answer is I don't know. I mean, there's there's a lot of houses that are next to the railroad tracks, so very small properties. The motorcycle club is the largest property, so I try to look for the largest properties to put these towers.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, you're not sure if any of the properties that are in between the railroad tracks and Mr. Vecito's property, you're not sure whether any of those properties are 10 acres?
It's not, I don't think so, no.
Okay, I just wanna make sure I understand, you don't think so, or you don't know? Which one?
No,
No, the answer is just no.
yeah, just no.
Okay. And you said you had, going back to my other question, you said you had contacted the motorcycle club and they had asked that you place the tower at the bottom, or they said they weren't interested?
So here's exactly what happened. I talked to, I wrote down who I talked to. But, here's exactly what happened. Mr. Heel, we went to the property. We actually, what we do is a design visit. At this design visit, the RF engineer comes, construction people come, the A&E engineer comes, civil engineer comes to design the site. Design the site, we were moving forward, then the motorcycle club came back to me and said they were not interested.
Okay. And you said that you also went to the landfill?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and the landfill, would you agree that that location is above, their property that they own is above the Vecino property?
Yes.
Okay. Have you spoken with anybody else that borders the landfill properties?
The landfill bought a lot of properties that border their landfill. So when you go down Skyline Drive, they purchased the majority of of those properties.
Okay,
So you asked me if I talked to one guy who was at his house. He's the one that said he just sold his property to the landfill. And I talked to the landfills, they indeed confirmed that.
did you do an investigation to determine what properties were not owned by the landfill that were
Yes.
next to the landfill?
Yes,
Did you speak with those owners?
I sent Mr. Lipinski, he owns 17.5 acres on Skyline Drive. He did not respond.
Okay. So we have Mr. Lipinski, the landfill, the motorcycle club. Who were the other two? I think you said there were 5 total.
The motorcycle club, the landfill, PP&L, Lipinski's. I did look at some other properties at, north of Skyline Drive, they're landlocked. So we couldn't use them, but those properties wouldn't have worked for RF anyway, our radio frequency engineer anyway.
And
But I did
how
look
did
at
you
them.
come to that conclusion?
Talking to my RF engineer, I keep in touch with them all the time.
Can you identify, or maybe it's better for the RF engineer to identify the criteria that they would?
He will testify exactly to the criteria involved in site selection.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Okay,
Recognized?
Tom?
Yeah. So there was some, trees cut down on the property in preparation. Nothing wrong with that, right? I mean, it's not against the law, cut trees down on your own property?
You object.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Thank you for choosing, this side. I wouldn't wanna put it on the landfill side. I wouldn't want Ms. Petrie to have to look at a cell phone tower. That's all.
Okay, Jason?
I don't have any questions, I thank you for your testimony.
Hey, Laura?
And I don't think I have questions that would be for this type of person that's speaking right now.
I just have a couple of questions. You had said, trying to read my writing.
I recall reading in the previous application, because I read both of them, that actually it was Mr. Bacido that approached Verizon. That was in the language in the previous application.
That is not true.
Well, it was in your application.
No, it absolutely was not.
No, he absolutely did not.
Okay, I'm just saying what I read. I for sure read it, maybe I was wrong.
Is
And
the
then,
document that says that?
not in front of me, Jason, no, okay. Pictures, you said a week ago you took pictures, could you explain when you took the pictures?
The next witness will be providing the photo simulations, which were taken a week ago.
Okay, and that's in the packet that you just gave us tonight?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so we're just seeing them, we didn't even see them yet.
They're in the packet, just like I didn't see the council's exhibit till tonight as well. So yes, they are in the package. And the
Okay.
reason we went out and did new photo sims was because when we were at the planning commission, there was concern expressed as to the tree removal. So we went out and went above and beyond and got more recent photographs so that we could show what the tower would look like. And we also made sure that we did it in the dead of winter, where you would not have a lot of leaves on these trees that are surrounding you.
But you would agree with me, then our regulations say that you're supposed to show current site conditions in your application.
It does not say you have to show current site in the application, it says you're supposed to provide a photo simulation.
No, I'm talking in general, the current site conditions. I believe I read that somewhere.
You provide what, there's nothing saying you have to have current photo sims.
Okay.
I'm not sure what you're referencing, but there's no requirement that I have to today update something because something happened on the property.
Okay, that's
You
fine.
did go ahead though and have new photo sims prepared in light of the concerns and the questions that were asked at the planning commission meeting.
Okay, based on what I heard tonight, that's my questions. I don't have any other questions, so I'll turn it back to you.
Council, do you have any follow-up questions?
Yes, I just have two. Ms. Van Schell, is there any requirement in the zoning ordinance that you locate a tower on a wooded area?
No.
So you choosing the wooded area was done based on you trying to figure out a way to locate a site where there was some existing vegetation?
Yes.
Have you located towers in wooded areas, in meadow areas, in farm fields?
Yes.
And specifically with regard to the Lower Saucon Township ordinance, is there any criteria in there requiring a site to be located on a property that has existing woodlands in order for the site to blend?
No.
I have no other questions of Ms. Van Schell.
Avery Cross? No. Thank you.
Okay. I'll go with my next witness.
Thank you.
You're- he has the plan. We can either pull it up on the computer screen, or he has an easel that we can put it on the easel.
Rather have
You
it-
tell me which you prefer.
Would you guys rather have it up on the screen?
I emailed it early today, so you would have the most up-to-date one. I thought maybe that would be easier for you to pull it. I could probably send it to you again from my phone. Or I can send it to,
So I'm prepared for this.
President, can we just have a recess to use the bathroom while they're trying to get
Sure,
everything
I
there?
can do that.
Will that extend
Thank
the
you.
time to continue the hearing,
Oh,
because
yeah.
we're taking a recess?
Right, we'll have to extend it for a couple of minutes then.
I'm okay for a
Yeah.
minute or two, it's fine with me.
Okay. We'll be back, we'll recess the meeting, for about 4 minutes.
Thank you.
if it's easier for him to check his email, I sent it at 3:26 PM on where Mark went.
I'm sorry?
I don't know where Mark went, but if he's looking through his emails, it's easier to tell him I sent it at 3:26.
won't go in a landfill, because it's a landfill, and there's no solid ground, that's why it won't go in a landfill.
You wanna go to? You state your name for the record.
Could you go to, have the meeting concluded? Go back.
Can you spell your last name for the record? And Mr. Albano, where do you work?
Tide Engineering and Design?
And are you a licensed professional engineer in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania?
Yes.
And did your firm have the plan submitted to the township?
Yes.
And did you also receive a copy of Hanover Engineers review letter, which has been marked as Exhibit C6 in council's packet?
Yes.
Has the plan that's included in the exhibit package include some updates in response to that review letter?
Yes.
Specifically going to, will the revised site plans be required to be submitted to the township engineer in response to the site plan comments in the review letter?
Yes.
What improvements are proposed at the subject property?
A 125-foot monopole with a top of lighting rod of 130 feet with antennas, equipment cabinets, generator. And it's top of 130 feet. And antennas. Can you hear me? Okay. Sorry. Equipment cabinets, a generator, and a fence pump down.
And just for the record, record, Exhibit A6, is that a copy of the plan that's up on the screen?
Yes.
With regard to the fence compound, what are the dimensions of the fence compound?
It is 25 feet by 30 feet with a 7-foot high chain link fence.
And as noted in Hanover Engineers Review Letter, there was a concern with regard to putting barbed wire on the top of the fence. Has that since been removed?
Yes,
Does the fence height meet the ordinance requirements?
yes,
Will the ground equipment be visible from surrounding properties?
no,
I'm going to show you what's marked in the exhibit package as Exhibit 7. Can you describe to council what Exhibit 7 shows? Well, first, when were there, it's a series of photographs. When were these photographs taken?
January 8th, 2024.
2024. And can you then take the first page of Exhibit A7 and describe to council and for the record what these photographs show?
So the photographs show the current site conditions. The first photo on the left of the page is the southwest of the site on the logging road that was cut, and it's looking towards the site. The picture on the right is the southwest of the site as well, on the logging road, looking towards the site, just further up.
The next page,
We're not seeing what you're looking for.
it's in the exhibit package. I said it was in the exhibit package as Exhibit 7.
On the way. Thanks.
Do you need an exhibit package?
Go ahead.
The next page in the exhibit package,
Page number.
it is Exhibit 7. We did the first page, now we're on the second page.
It is north of the site, looking towards the site on the left, and on the right it is north of the site as well, looking towards the site, just further up.
And page 3,
Is the trail on the photo on the left is a trail northeast of the site, looking southwest towards the site. The
southeast towards the
southeast, sorry. The photo on the right is 75 feet north of the site, looking north towards the water tank.
And the next page in the packet,
Picture on the left is the logging road northeast of the site, looking southeast towards the site. On the picture on the right is the logging road northeast of the site, looking southeast towards the site.
and the last page.
It is on the logging road facing the staging area that is off the property.
That's off the property, okay. And are these, since these photographs were taken last week, are they depicting the current conditions at the site?
Yes.
And do the photographs, again, this is looking towards where the tower will be located?
Correct.
And do these photographs show existing trees in the area?
Yes.
And again, these photographs are to depict that the base of the facility will not be visible from surrounding property.
Correct.
And when we say base of the facility, we mean the 7-foot high fence, the equipment cabinets, generator, and those items.
Correct.
In addition to there being existing woods on the property, is an evergreen screen now proposed around the fence compound to screen as required by the ordinance?
Yes.
Was that also something that was discussed at the planning commission and advised that we should consider an evergreen screen in addition to using existing vegetation?
Yes.
Will the proposed screening as required by the ordinance be deer-resistant vegetation?
Yes.
So that if the township has a specific species or some type of tree that they would recommend that's deer-resistant, we would incorporate that into the landscaping scheme?
Yes. We also work with a landscape architect to determine they want deer resistant.
To confirm that they would be deer-resistant? Okay. Will the monopole have a galvanized finish?
Yes.
Is the use of existing vegetation being incorporated as a mitigation measure?
Yes.
As it relates to the size of the property, we could go to what sheet is that in the plan?
Z2.
Z2?
Yeah, right there. What page was this on exhibit 6? A6?
it would be the third page, and at the bottom it says Z2.
Thank you.
Does exhibit Z2 show the boundary of the subject property?
Yes.
Does exhibit Z2 show where the communication facility compound is going to be located as it relates to the surrounding property lines?
Yes.
Will the equipment cabinets be set back the required distances from all property lines?
Yes.
Does the township ordinance have a tower setback requirement of 1.5 times the height of the structure?
Yes.
Does this require the monopole to be set back 195 feet from all property lines?
Yes.
Is the setback met by the proposed location?
Yes.
Specifically, can you, for the record, describe what the distances are to the northern, southern, western, and eastern property lines?
To the north, the tower is set back 202 feet. To the east, it is set back 225 feet. To the south, it is 264 feet. And to the property line that is to the west, it is over 650 feet.
Over 650 feet to the western property line. So the location meets the setback requirements.
Yes.
Does the ordinance also require a monopole to be set back the required distance from, that same setback distance from a residential zone where towers are not permitted?
Yes.
Is that setback requirement met?
Yes.
Will the monopole also be set back the required distance from existing residential dwellings?
Yes.
I'll ask the board, or excuse me, the council to go to Z5 in that same site plan packet. Everybody have it? Victoria, do you? Does everybody have it?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you explain for the record what page Z5 shows?
Z5 shows all the properties within 100 feet.
And is the required distance met to all existing residential dwellings?
Yes.
And is this an aerial map where you identify the tower compound location as well as the existing home on Mr. Vecito's property?
Yes.
How are monopoles designed?
Monopoles are designed to a strict code that is specific to monopole, to telecommunication structures. They are designed in a fashion where the base is designed to withstand more of the loading. There is a theoretical weaker point that is closer to the top in case there is an event of a failure. But they are designed to stringent codes that they are required to meet.
And do those codes take into account the wind loading and ice loading of a specific geographic area?
Yes.
So in this case, the design and construction of the monopole structure has to be in accordance with whatever requirements are for Northampton County for wind loading and ice loading.
Correct.
And are the other standards that the design required to meet, do those include what are the ANSI standards?
Yes.
The EIA, TIA standards?
Yes.
And the electrical code requirements?
Yes.
Are those requirements also required to be met by the township zoning ordinance?
Yes.
Will the monopole be constructed in accordance with those requirements?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's in the packet, Exhibit 9. Is Exhibit 9 a letter signed and sealed by you confirming the design of the monopole structure in accordance with the industry standards?
Yes.
And are those standards that I just referenced included and documented in this exhibit?
Yes.
If the monopole is designed and constructed in accordance with the required standards, will the monopole have any adverse impact on an adjacent property from a structural standpoint?
No.
Does Exhibit 9 also confirm that the monopole will be designed to accommodate co-location as required by the ordinance?
Yes.
And specifically, how does the design work as it relates to co-location? How many other carriers is it potentially able to accommodate? And perhaps not a specific number as much as equipment.
It is designed to support three different carriers at 12 panel antennas each.
At 12 panel antennas each?
Yes.
Okay. But with regard to what's before council this evening as part of the conditional use, we are only seeking approval for Verizon Wireless antennas at the proposed elevation.
Correct.
But it will be designed such that if somebody like AT&T or T-Mobile would to come and ask to be able to locate their equipment on the structure, it would be physically capable of having that co-location occur.
Yes.
As required by the ordinance, if all necessary approvals are received, are foundation and monopole design drawings required to be submitted to the township and signed and sealed by a Pennsylvania professional engineer.
Yes.
As it relates to the foundation, is the foundation a site-specific foundation?
Yes.
And is that designed following a geotechnical analysis of the soils?
Yes.
And is the geotechnical analysis of the soils done once the use is approved at that specific location?
Yes.
Will the geotechnical report be required to be submitted and reviewed by the township engineer?
Yes.
Will the geotechnical report document what type of foundation and depth would be required for the proposed monopole at the exact location that is proposed?
Yes.
Are you aware of the types of soils on the site?
Yes.
Do the types of soils that are located on the site raise any issues or concerns for you as a professional engineer to enable a safe foundation design?
No.
Will any improvements be located within a clear sight triangle or street right of way?
No.
Going back to the equipment cabinets, will they be placed on a concrete pad?
Be on an elevated steel platform
An elevated steel platform? And why would it be on an elevated steel platform?
due to the slopes of the property in the areas that we're going.
So the elevated steel platform is going to provide a safety feature because of the slopes of the property?
Correct.
And is it necessary to locate the equipment on that steel platform and above ground?
Yes.
Will the proposed evergreen screening still screen that equipment even though it's on an elevated platform?
Yes.
Is the proposed monopole design the least intrusive design for this property?
Yes.
Are any improvements proposed within a wetlands area?
No.
Are any improvements proposed within a historic area?
No.
Will the proposed facility have any impact on public water or sewer?
No.
Are 2 parking spaces provided on the site as required?
Yes.
Is the required turnaround area provided?
Yes.
Will erosion and sediment measures be installed as part of the site plan?
Yes.
Are the ENS measures required to be reviewed and approved by the township engineer?
Yes.
Is the requirement of ENS and stormwater features documented in Hanover Engineers' review letter?
Yes.
So that means that stormwater will need to be addressed as part of the site plan compliance requirements.
Correct.
Will any of the improvements that are proposed generate any noise, fumes, smokes, or odors so as to constitute a nuisance?
No.
Will there be any lighting of the fence compound?
No, there will be a light inside the equipment platform, but it will be aimed down and on a manual timer switch such that a tech can work on it at night if needed. It'll be on a manual timer switch, so we'll not have the ability to be left on, it'll shut off at a pre-designated time. And it'll be aimed down and into the cameras.
So will there be any light emanating off-site?
No.
With regards to the generator that you mentioned was going to be located at the site, what is the size and type of generator that's proposed?
It is a 30 kilowatt diesel generator.
And will the only noise at the site be from the generator?
Yes.
And what type of noise will be coming from, or how often will there be noise from the generator?
The generator will run periodically for maintenance, typically every 2 to 4 weeks. It is ran during the day under a no load condition, so there'll be less.
Under a what?
No load condition, so there'll be less noise generated. It'll also run during emergency when there's no power. That will be at a full load condition as needed by the site.
Will any of the noise related to the generator emanate off-site?
It'll be less than the 65 decibels at the property line.
It will be less than 65 decibels at the property. As required by the ordinance, if the site were approved and constructed, will the required inspections be performed?
Yes,
Will the required notice be provided in the event the use is discontinued or abandoned?
yes.
Have you prepared a cost estimate as required by the ordinance that documents the cost to cover the removal and site cleanup?
Yes.
And I'm showing you what's marked in the exhibit package as Exhibit A10. Is Exhibit A10 a copy of that cost estimate?
Yes.
Is the cost estimate ultimately required to be reviewed and approved by the township engineer?
Yes.
Is the cost estimate meant to provide a basis for whatever security would need to be posted at the township to secure the removal of a site, of the site improvements once the site would be abandoned?
Yes.
Does the lease agreement with the property owner require the removal of the equipment if the site were to be abandoned?
Yes.
So pending approval of the cost estimate by the township engineer, will the required security be provided?
Yes.
What is the amount of traffic that would be generated by the proposed site? Site improvements?
The traffic will be typically a sport utility or a work truck every 4 to 6 weeks for maintenance.
So it will be a fully automated facility as required by the ordinance?
Correct.
Is the amount of traffic that would be generated less than what would be generated by a residential use?
Yes.
How much time do I have?
I would say a good 10 minutes here, maybe?
Okay. The next part of the testimony is gonna take a little longer, that's why I'm debating, I don't wanna start it and then stop
How
it.
much longer?
I need to go into the photo simulations and I need to go into the access drive, which is gonna take longer than 10 minutes.
I'll make a motion to extend it by 25 minutes. 25 minutes.
I second.
And I said 10, 15 minutes. So there's a motion on the floor.
No, to extend it, but the 10 minutes was the original time. I want a motion for another additional 25 minutes on top of it. You said you have 10 minutes left on the original now.
And we're wasting time again. So, can we have a roll call, please? Since there's a motion?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
It's 25 minutes. Give us some.
So we're voting to increase 25 minutes onto whatever we're at now?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
I didn't hear what she said.
She said
Yes.
Ms. Elio?
No.
Mr. Bananas?
Yes.
Ms. Athos-Kader?
I vote yes, but I want to also indicate, I think I might have a number of questions with this, so the next time we have this hearing, I just want to make sure I can go back through things and ask questions, because we may.
The witness will return, right? The witness will return.
The witness will be, yes, the witness will be.
Then you can ask him questions.
Motion passes.
Okay, go ahead, Kate.
Okay. Did your office prepare a photo simulation of what the tower would look like if approved and constructed?
Yes.
I'm gonna show you what's marked in the exhibit packet as Exhibit 8. Is Exhibit 8 a copy of the photo simulation that was prepared?
Yes.
Were these photos taken on January 8th, 2024?
Yes.
Can you explain to council how this photo simulation was prepared?
So what we do in a photo simulation is we send two people to the site. One is holding a 6-foot diameter balloon. It is inflated with helium and then released to the height of the tower. We then take photos from different locations around the site to be able to show what it would look like. We then take those photos and impose a monopole or a cell site on that based on the balloon.
So the photo simulation is done at the exact location and height of the proposed structure.
Correct.
And then somebody drives around to see if that balloon is visible and then takes photographs. And then the monopole structure is then shown on the exhibit.
Yes.
Is how the photo simulation was prepared by your office the standard in the industry of how photo simulations are prepared?
Yes.
Going to that exhibit, we'll take, the first sheet is the cover page, going to the next page. The next page has a location map and identifies 4 locations, is that correct? Oh, excuse me, 6, sorry. I didn't see
I'm
the
sorry,
numbers.
what page and the pictures of
We are,
Exhibit 8?
we are on exhibit 8, and right now we're just on the second page.
Oh, I find it. Thank you.
Okay. So page 2 of exhibit 8 identifies 6 locations for where the photos were taken, is that correct? And does this exhibit also identify the proximity of that distance from the proposed site location?
Yes.
And are these locations that, again, as you just testified to, when somebody drove around, they were trying to see if the balloon was visible?
Correct.
And again, what color did you say the balloon was?
Red.
And so, obviously, it was done in a color that would stand out so that you could determine visibility.
Correct.
Going to the next page in that exhibit, so the third page in that exhibit.
Is there a way to show these at all on the screen, just for the audience?
I just have extra packets, I don't have an email yet.
Okay.
And they're very dark anyway. Pictures are very dark for us to see, and I can't see them.
I appreciate that, I just wanted, because it looks like the audience was trying to follow
Yeah, I
along with you, so I was trying to
No,
see
no,
if
I
there's a
understand.
possibility
I
we could
understand.
help you with that, but
I can make one of these packets available.
maybe like, since we're gonna be here next time, maybe there's, you could take the exhibits and put them on a flash drive and give them to the township, that way we could, the
Yep.
audience could follow along.
Not a problem.
Thank you, Kathy, but turning on the lights aren't gonna make the pictures lighter. So thank you.
I actually think it does make it better to see the pictures.
Well,
in the
maybe,
packet.
but I didn't even recognize my house in these pictures.
Again, it's not supposed to be specific to your concerns, for the record.
Looking at the photos you're showing, and I know my house is in there, so.
Can you please identify Ms. Davion's property?
Well,
For the record?
let me go through the photos, it'll be easier that way, if I can, just in the package, just, okay. So, page 3 of the packet is photo location number 1.
Correct.
And photo location number 1 is shown to be 765 feet from the proposed site, is that correct?
Approximately, yes.
And roughly where is that?
Roughly at the edge of the driveway.
At the what driveway?
It's at the edge of the Cedar driveway on Lewis Avenue, sorry.
And the page shows in the lower right corner, existing conditions,
Yes,
and then photo location, proposed monopole.
correct.
So existing locations, you can see in that photograph barely a balloon, is that correct?
That is correct.
And then the monopole structure then is imposed shown where that balloon is visible.
Correct.
Going to photo location number 2, which is the next page, which is approximately 680 feet away. Where roughly is location 2 taken from?
It is out on Suffolk Avenue. Just past Lewis Avenue.
Just past Lewis Avenue. And again, it shows 2 photos. In the lower right corner, existing conditions, and then photo location number 2, the proposed monopole behind a number of trees.
Correct.
Going to the next, photo location number 3, which is approximately 515 feet from the site. Can you describe approximately where photo location number 3 is taken from?
It is further down Suffolk Ave towards the cul-de-sac.
Toward the cul-de-sac.
Correct.
Map 3. And then going to that page where it says photo location number 3, again, lower right corner, existing conditions, you can see the red balloon in the photograph, and then you have superimposed what the monopole would look like at that exact location.
Correct.
Photo location number 4 is approximately 1,265 feet away. Can you describe for the record approximately where photo location number 4 is taken from?
Approximately the intersection of Suffolk Ave and Roberts Ave.
And Roberts Ave. Again, going to that page in the photo simulation, in the lower corner, it identifies a house. And then it shows that you would not really see the monopole be within the trees adjacent to that house.
It will be slightly visible, but yes, it is difficult to see.
Photo location number 5 is approximately 1,315 feet away. And roughly where is photo location number 5 taken from?
On Mixel Ave.
On Mixel Ave. So if we go to photo location number 5, existing conditions in the lower right, proposed monopole in the photo location, and showing not much visibility at that location, just probably the top of it.
Correct.
Photo location number 6, finally, is approximately 2,625 feet away. Can you explain for the record where photo location number 6 is taken from?
It is on the opposite side on Apple Butter Road.
And on photo location number 6, you can't see, so you went down there, somebody went down there and drove and could not see the balloon.
Correct.
And is that because of vegetation and elevation, or what made the balloon not visible?
Due to elevation and vegetation.
Vegetation. Again, these photographs were taken to show existing conditions, given the concern raised about some of the logging that was happening on the property. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Do the photo sims confirm limited visibility in the vicinity of the site?
Yes.
As it relates to access to the site, if we could pull up the plan and sheet Z2, which is the third sheet. How will the facility be accessed?
It will be accessed through off of Lewis Avenue, utilizing access drive, existing and new access drive.
And will the access be within a 20-foot wide easement as required that would be extended to the proposed fence compound?
Yes.
What material is the existing access comprised of?
It is a gravel access road.
Will the required width of the access be paved as required?
Yes.
And will that width be approximately 10 to 12 feet, depending on where it is on the access?
Yes.
And does the ordinance require a minimum of 10-foot width be paved?
Yes.
And have you received when we were at the planning commission, information from the township engineer as it relates to the types of materials that may be necessary to meet the paving requirements.
Yes.
Is Lewis Avenue the only means of access to the property?
Yes.
Does that access currently provide access to the residents?
Yes.
Has that access been in use for over 18 years?
Yes.
Again, with regard to the amount of traffic that these improvements would generate, will there be any adverse impact on traffic in the area with the sports utility vehicle that would be 4 to 6 weeks?
No.
In your opinion, will granting conditional use approval for the proposed installation have any adverse impact on public health, safety, welfare?
No.
Will it have any impact on the surrounding properties?
No.
Is that also demonstrated by the photo simulation that was submitted?
Yes.
Will the proposed access be adequate both for service and emergency access to the facility?
Yes.
Are there any concerns with emergency vehicles getting to the site should there be something that requires, a police or fire to come?
No.
As relates to the improvements, will everything related to the monopole be grounded from an electrical standpoint?
Yes.
So thereby making it safer than other structures that are out there?
Yes.
And when I say by grounded, can you just explain a little bit to council what that means?
So the site is designed to be able to, if there was a lightning strike, it takes the lightning, takes it down to, electricity takes away the path of least resistance. So we are providing that to the site, so if there was a lightning strike at the tower, it takes it and dissipates it into the ground, as to not cause any concerns or any issues.
And is that grounding system a standard for wireless communication facilities?
Yes.
And again, will the drawings that are submitted to the township confirm the grounding and they can be reviewed by either the permitting office or Hanover engineer?
Yes, they will be submitted as part of the construction package.
That actually is all the questions I have for Mr. Albano.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
That is actually all the questions I have of Mr. Albano.
Okay, great. Well, no, she's done.
There's still another 22 minutes left. I counted, there's 22 more minutes left.
So we'll take questions for, sorry?
Can we just clarify what the time, I thought we extended 25 minutes at 8:35, if I'm looking at this wall clock, is that correct?
Time is up at 8:55.
The
5
motion
and
was,
9.
the motion was for an additional 25 minutes, and Priscilla had said there were 10 minutes left, so 10 plus 25 is 35. And I put my timer on, there's 22 minutes and 4 seconds still left.
I'm sorry, I understood that we were given 25 minutes total.
Well, it's
That's why
4 to
you said
1.
yes.
So that's why I voted yes, and I would like to be able to ask my questions at a time where we're not rushing through this, so.
There's 22 minutes, there's plenty of
I
time
would-
to ask your question.
I respectfully disagree about 22 minutes, because I'm looking at the clock, and if I added 25 minutes to 8:35, we would be at 15.
The witness will be available at the next hearing. Can we at least start with the questioning since he is here and we have time?
We still have another meeting left. We still,
No, I understand, but I'd like to at least proceed with some of the questioning since we are here.
I mean, I'm happy to go to 8:55, 9 o'clock, but that's all I wanted to clarify, so that's all.
I think if you're in agreement to ending it now with his, then we can start with the next, with the questions.
I would like to use my time and start with the cross-examination question. And with the understanding that if we don't complete it by that time, he is coming back.
Okay, so, okay, in my head, he goes to, I'm sorry.
9 o'clock.
Attorney Dashler was going to
Dashler goes next.
Correct.
Okay, I'm sorry, I thought we were gonna go next, so no, okay.
I would just like the record to reflect that this council has wasted another minute and a half almost 2 minutes now debating whether or not we're going to continue.
We can play back the video for how much time you wasted.
Mr. Dashler, could you please present your case?
Cross-examination, Counsel.
Mr. Albano, you testified that you, I'm paraphrasing, that you didn't feel that the soils in the site posed any particular issues with the construction of the monopole. Did you prepare a soil report complying with the standards of Appendix 1, Geotechnical Investigations, ANSI/EIA/TIA 222G as amended?
No, we did not. That is pending the approval.
Okay.
As that was stated on the plan.
Speak in the microphone, please.
I'm sorry.
He asked for him to speak into the microphone.
Oh, sorry. He said as was discussed at the planning commission meeting.
I'm assuming that you've reviewed the zoning ordinance, in particular the additional regulations for conditional and special exception uses.
Yes.
And would it be fair to say that they require that the design of the monopole be the least intrusive one possible?
Yes.
Okay. Did you consider other designs?
Yes.
What designs did you consider?
It was considered as a self-support tower, but ultimately decided to be a monopole.
Why?
The monopole is the least intrusive.
Could you speak a little louder, please?
In the
Everybody can
microphone.
hear you.
The monopole is the least intrusive. A self-support tower was investigated, but it was determined that a monopole would be the least intrusive.
Speak forward. no
Yeah, we
microphone.
can't hear, I'm sorry. People in the back of the room can't hear.
Full microphone.
With regard to the photo simulation, does that photo simulation show that from the first 5 locations that the monopole will in fact be visible?
It will be, yes, it will be visible.
Only one of the 6 locations it's not visible, is that correct?
That is correct.
The additional regulations for conditional and special exception uses requires that the pole, the site have access to a public street, is that correct?
Well, that actually is not correct. It says it has specific permission for the council to approve it to be to a private street.
Does this site have access to a public street?
Can you just repeat that into the microphone?
No.
Am I correct that the Vasitos have or will be granting an easement through their property?
That is correct.
And the easement terminates at Lewis Avenue?
That is correct.
It is the idea that Lewis Avenue serves as the access to a public street? If you know, if you don't know, you can tell me you don't know.
But that's not what the ordinance says.
I'm asking him a question.
Stop badgering her. Let her look.
Oh, please. Just the chair, Tom.
That was badgering.
Wow.
I have a low tolerance for that, Michael, you know that.
You know that.
Is there a question on this?
Yeah.
There is.
Can you repeat your question, please?
Can you repeat my question?
I don't want to badger you, I'm just asking.
Question, and is the idea that Lewis Avenue serves as the access to a public street? If you know, if you don't know, you can tell me you don't know.
Thank you.
Lewis Avenue does lead out to a public street.
I'm sorry, what?
Lewis Avenue does lead out to a public street.
Leads out.
Yes.
Are you aware of any rights that the Vasitos have to use Lewis Avenue? you I had a bunch of questions if you said yes to them. I appreciate it. Are you aware that there's been significant logging done on the property?
We're aware that there has been logging of the property, yes.
When were you last at the property?
I was last at the property on in December.
He was at the planning commission meeting.
Okay,
But there is.
okay, so within the last month or so, you've been there, okay.
Yes.
Are you able to describe to the council the extent of the logging that's been done on the site?
I am not sure if how to describe it. What is it was, trees have been taken down, yes. I can't tell you acreage, we don't have that number, we did not go back out and survey this. But trees have been taken down, it has been thinned, not at our doing. Not at Horizon's doing.
No, I understand that, but the Vecito's doing, correct?
That I can't say yes or no.
If any of the questions I ask you, you don't know the answer to, that's the correct answer. Okay, so that's fine. But would the removal of the trees, as you've observed it, make the monopole more visible from all of the 5 sites from which it was visible on your survey?
I will say that it has changed the visibility, I can't say whether it is more or, it's not less visible, but it has made an impact, which is the purpose of preparing the new photo sims.
Understood. They're more visible, right?
Can you repeat that?
Yes, they are more visible.
Thank you.
Does the removal of trees, the logging that's taken place, have any effect on the soil and erosion issues with the property?
Without preparing soil erosion report, I could not.
So they may.
They could.
We don't know. One of the requirements of the additional regulations is that the applicant shall demonstrate that all NEPA requirements were applicable for any proposed commercial communication facilities have been met. A copy of the NEPA required environmental assessment report shall be submitted. Has that report been submitted?
Yeah, the environmental part of it is in the packet.
Okay. I didn't get a chance to look at each page of that. I apologize. Are there any ways in which monopoles can be designed to make their appearance less intrusive? I mean, for example, I've seen poles that are made to look like trees.
Yes.
So, are there ways to make it less intrusive?
There are ways to change the aesthetics.
Okay, and what are some of those ways?
It can be designed as a tree. It can be designed as a flagpole, a silo, a windmill.
Okay, were any of those things considered?
They were determined to be more obtrusive, because it wouldn't blend with the character of the area.
But a naked monopole does blend with the character of the area?
That's up for interpretation.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
How much time are we on?
10 minutes left on my timer. 10 minutes and 11 seconds,
Does
actually.
council want to proceed, or?
Yes. Yes.
Madam President, does council want to proceed? Do you want to make a motion?
I don't know, I think that our questions, can wait till the next meeting. So I'll make a motion that we recess this hearing until, what's the next meeting date, February 6th or 7th?
Are we doing it at your next meeting, or are we doing it at your second meeting?